Hey everyone, I'm so sorry I couldn't be with you in biology class today, but I did want to make sure that you had some instructions about what's going to be happening for the next couple of days. So because I won't be in class and we're about to start a new unit, I wanted to be sure that you got the instruction that you needed so that you could be successful in biology. So for the days that I am not in class, I'll have some videos for you guys to watch. Some will be quite lengthy, some will be a little bit shorter than each other, but they'll all have what I would have shared with you guys if I was in class with you. And there'll be some directions to go along with them so that you know what assignments you need to complete. The great thing about these videos is that you can listen to them at your own speed, which means if you need me to pause and restate something, you can pause the video and then you can restart it where you need to so that you can hear something again. Maybe you need the assignment directions to be repeated. Or maybe it takes you, a shorter time than some of your classmates or a longer time than some of your classmates to complete an assignment. Well, you can pause the video where it is and you can complete an assignment. Okay, so this is something that will be at your speed. I'm going to design these lessons so that everybody can be successful, even though I'm not there with you guys. So today we're going to start our lesson just like we would any other lesson, and that is going to be with the table of contents entry. So I need you to get your notebooks out, and I need you to open up to your table of contents, get something to write with, and let's write down your table of contents. So when you get your table of contents out, we are going to be looking at pages 133, 134, and 135. And we probably won't get to all of this today, but I want you to have some of this information written down so you know where you're going to be putting these pages. Let me zoom this in close so that you can get each of these sections. Remember, if you need to pause so that you can read and write down what's written, go ahead and pause this video. 133 says genetics vocab. 134 says genotype and phenotype. And 135 says, my parents wrecked my favorite genes. And this is not spelled like your blue jeans, if you notice. This is spelled like genes from genetics, because that is our next unit. We're going to start talking about genetics. This is my absolute favorite all-time science subject. I absolutely love this subject, and so I hope that you guys do too. I'm going to do my best to introduce you to some new vocab and some new genetics concepts throughout this unit. Now that you've finished filling out your table of contents, we're actually going to go on to do a reading assignment. Now, there are some very, very, very new words and very unfamiliar words for you guys. So I'm going to be reading this with you all, which is great for you because you're going to be able to hear some words. You'll be able to follow along and see what those words look like. And you'll be able to learn a little bit about genetics while we do this. So what you need to find is the reading packet that says, my parents wrecked my favorite genes. Now this is going on page 135. It's not the first page that we put in our table of contents, but this is going on 135. And when we talk about genetics, we're talking about the traits and the characteristics that you received. You received your traits and your characteristics from your parents. Your brothers and sisters received their traits and characteristics from your parents. Okay? You didn't actually get any of your traits from anybody except for your parents. Anything that was given to you through DNA was given to you through your parents. So this title actually makes a lot of sense. Genetics. My parents wrecked my favorite genes. Now this is just the author being funny, saying that they wrecked my favorite genes, but your parents did not wreck any of your genes, all right? This is the way that the science worked in your family tree, and you are who you are, the way that you look, mostly because of your parents. Now, there are some other factors that come into play, but we'll get into that later. So let's look at this reading assignment. You can get a highlighter if you want. I would suggest maybe highlighting some of these bold words that you see and maybe trying to figure out what their definition is. That might help you later on as well. But let's read this together. Genetics. My parents wrecked my favorite genes. Have you ever wondered who you look more like, your mom or your dad? Why don't you look like your pet hamster? It's all because of genetics, the study of heredity. Heredity is the passing of physical characteristics from parents to offspring. Your DNA, which contains your genes, came from your mom and dad, not from your pet hamster. That's why you probably look like a mixture of your parents. Genes control the traits you exhibit, like your hair color, eye color, the ability to roll your tongue, and maybe even your sweaty feet. Every cell in your body contains the DNA you inherited from your parents. All of these traits are controlled by the cell's nucleus. The nucleus holds your DNA, which has the instructions for making specific proteins. Those proteins are made using the ribosomes located out of the nucleus, floating in the cytoplasm, or attached to the rough endoplasmic reticulum. And because proteins are the building blocks of cells, tissues, and organs, they also control your characteristics, what you look like, your abilities, and sometimes even your behaviors. When we try to better understand how we get traits, the different forms of a characteristic from our parents, we use letters called alleles to represent the different forms of a gene. For example, if we're talking about having dimples, we might use a capital D for dimples and a lowercase d for no dimples. The capital letter represents the dominant trait, the one that overshadows all others. The lowercase letter represents the recessive trait, the one that hides in the background. The result is 3 different combinations of these letters: big D, big D, big D, little d, and little d. You get 1 gene from each parent, a letter from mom and a letter from dad, so that's why the alleles are paired with one another. The different combination of alleles, or letters, make up the genotype. What those combinations mean or look like physically is called the phenotype. So, if you get a dominant capital D from dad and a dominant capital D from mom, then you will be homozygous or purebred. That means that 2 letters are the same. And your phenotype would be having dimples, the dominant trait. If your dad gives you a recessive little d and your mom gives you a recessive little d, you would still be homozygous, they're the same letter, purebred, and your phenotype would be no dimples, the recessive trait. However, if your dad gives you a dominant D and mom gives you a recessive D, then you would be heterozygous or hybrid. That means the 2 letters are different. And your phenotype would be having dimples because the capital D, or the dominant trait, takes over and it overshadows or dominates the little d recessive trait. This paragraph right here is the meat of what we'll be looking at this whole entire week. So this little paragraph, I'm going to be expanding and helping you guys understand even more. I know right now that was a lot to take in. There's some really weird words in there and things about letters and big D's and little d's and what the heck are they talking about? Don't worry, we will get into that. When a cell in your body, like a skin or muscle cell, reproduces and makes 2 cells, it's called mitosis. Mitosis results in cells that have 46 chromosomes in all, meaning you get 23 from mom and 23 from dad. However, when your parents' bodies make sex cells, which are sperm and egg, it's called meiosis. There should be an N here, though. Meiosis. Meiosis results in sperm and egg that have half the number of chromosomes, only 23 total. So when your parents made you, each one donated 23 chromosomes to the gene pool, giving you the 46 chromosomes of DNA that make you uniquely you. Again, don't worry right now about completely understanding mitosis and meiosis. This is just a really broad general overview of genetics. Okay, so now that you have read through this with me, I have another assignment for you. You guys are actually going to go to this link right here and watch a little bit more of an introductory video about heredity and genetics. All right, it's going to have some more pictures than maybe the reading that we just did had on it. So hopefully that gets you to understand a little bit more about genetics and heredity before we go on to our next task. Once you guys finish watching this video, you will be going on to a new video of me. It's going to be us talking about genetics vocab. So we're going to be filling out an assignment that looks something like this. Okay, so it's my favorite genes vocab. And we will be working on this together. I'll show you how to construct this and where you'll be putting that in your notebook. So you should be looking for a video called deLivron Biology, My Favorite Genes Vocab. That'll be the next video in this lesson.